Okay, so then this is how you get rid of the nitrogen. So there are two main categories of chemical reactions: transamination and deamination. And the urea cycle, I don't expect you to know much about the details in that. But what's transamination? So trans, whenever you see that kind of like that root word, that means across or across. Yeah, that's pretty much what you see in medical and science. Trans meaning across. So what happens in transamination is that here we have amino acid, and here is a. Now this there are many types of keto acids. Do you need to know the organic chemistry compound for this name? Not really, but I'm going to show you what happens in transamination. So in transamination, you have an enzyme called transaminase, and what does it do? It basically does a switcheroo between this ketone group and this amine group. So now this will become a keto acid, and this is now amino acid. And you might be like, and the thing is that these reactions are also reversible. So whenever you have this kind of switching of a keto acid and a glutamic acid, when you switch that nitrogen around and shift it from one to the other, that's transamination. And you might be like, wait, why do that in the first place? Well, the thing is that your body has an easier time removing nitrogen from certain amino acids than it does from other amino acids. So what's the whole purpose of transamination? Try to move that nitrogen to amino acid or move it to a keto acid that's easier to get rid of the nitrogen from. So it's kind of like trying to get all its ducks in a row. All right, so then you have deamination. So instead of just shifting it from one acid to another, now you're actually going to get rid of the nitrogen. And then there's an enzyme called deaminase. So deaminase is going to take that amine group with the nitrogen that's part of the group, and then it's going to remove it. So now you have an organic acid, you have an acid, but now you have that ammonium ion removed from the original amino acid. So this is why it's called deamination versus transamination, because again, you're removing that amine group. Now, where does that go? That will go now to the urea cycle. But why do liver boxes smell? We're going to answer that. So we have all these ammonium ions, and then what you do, your body does, or your cells do, is that they combine it with carbon dioxide in the mitochondria, and then they enter the urea cycle. Now there are multiple steps and compounds in the urea cycle. Again, at this level, that's more of an upper level biochemistry question. At this point, all you need to know is that you take ammonia, you take carbon dioxide, combine them together, and you form a new compound called urea. So urea has this chemical formula and structure. So it takes the carbon dioxide and takes the ammonium ions, and then it makes urea. And the urea, so this is what you can excrete in your urine. And what happens when you, like, say you have your kitty cat and then they do their business in the litter box, this urea can also break down back into ammonia and ammonium. So that's what happens with little whiskers over here. So you have ammonia and ammonium, and if you ever like clean anything with ammonia, you know that it has a very strong smell. Or one of the things, or if you've ever been to like any bird sanctuary, like when I lived in San Francisco, I went to Alcatraz Island, and they also converted Alcatraz into a sanctuary for wildlife. And there was one part in Alcatraz where it was just nothing but birds and a lot of seabird guano. And they also produce a lot of nitrogenous compounds and urea as well. So when I went that day, I don't know if it was just the day I went, but when I went outside, I was like, oh my God, this really smells strongly. And that's because of all the ammonia and ammonium. And that's why if you don't clean out your litter box for your kitty cat, it's going to smell strong because of all that ammonia and ammonium that's resulting from urea breaking down. And again, I don't expect you to know all of these compounds, but again, what's the main thing here? So you have carbon dioxide, you have ammonium, and then you have this urea cycle, and the urea cycle is going to produce urea, and that's what your body can excrete in the urine. So this is how you're able to, so this is what you need to do in order to metabolize amino acids. You have to get rid of the nitrogen somehow, so you can actually create the compounds that don't have nitrogen that can be fed into the citric acid cycle.